I've always had a passion for IT products. This is what first made me start working with TCO Certified 11 years ago. But back then, I didn't really know how problematic these products were from a sustainability perspective. But the more I worked with the criteria development, the more I understood the problems connected to the products that I hold so dear.
During the last decade, I've seen firsthand the impact of TCO Certified. I know that we are driving a real and lasting change, and I'm very proud of what we have achieved so far. Now it's time to take the next step.
With the launch of TCO Certified Generation 9, we make circular IT management easier to implement. We reduce the risk that workers come in contact with hazardous process chemicals in factories. We also bring transparency further up the supply chain. And we give purchasers and the industry access to independently verified sustainability data that will help them drive progress faster and avoid greenwash. This way, we move forward on our journey towards more sustainable IT products. And remember, you also have an important role to play.
Welcome to this online event and the launch of TCO Certified Generation 9. My name is Parul Sharma and I'm a sustainability professional and I will be your facilitator today, and together we are going to gain a lot of new knowledge about sustainability and IT products. Friends, you will meet the development and purchasing experts at TCO Certified, and they will guide us towards a more sustainable IT product world. But first, some voices from around the world.
Circularity of IT products is also key. We know right now that circular economy and resourcing we need to treat with great respect and do the right thing. And with IT products, for me, that's about reusability and recyclability. How can we recycle absolutely every component of our IT products?
I view TCO Certified as a trustworthy, reliable, and transparent certification backed by an organization, TCO Development, that is committed to robust verification processes, continual improvement in their methods, and minimizing a product's adverse life cycle impacts. When I see a product with a TCO certification, I don't question the sustainability claims and have full confidence in the eco-label.
The most important sustainability issue facing the IT hardware industry is the accelerated depletion of natural resources. We also need to move the perception needle that a good second life product is second best. That argument has had its day. We're seeing evidence, of course, of global supply chain issues, and if you team that with the global silicon chip shortage, it's quite frankly not sustainable.
Now, friends, it's time to meet our keynote speaker, Mr. Bob Willard. And Bob will tell us about the magic market force that could change the sustainability scene completely. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bob Willard.
Good afternoon. This is a great honor and a pleasure. And as some of you know, I'm very much a fan of and invested in the business case for sustainability. And I want to connect the dots between the business case for sustainability and sustainable procurement. So let's start off with this business case thing. I've spent about 20 years writing books on it, doing talks on it, writing calculators on it. So we've got a lot of tools, we've got a lot of slides, a lot of videos that talk about how much better it would be for a company if they were to pay more attention to sustainability. So we've proven the business case. We know that they would make a lot more profit if they simply adopted best practices of other organizations that have been working on these issues, environmental and social issues. So why am I doing this? Well, because frankly, I'm a little uneasy about the future world that my 3 adult kids and my 3 grandchildren and their grandchildren are inheriting from us. And governments and NGOs are doing a lot of good things, but they can't do it by themselves. They need help from the business community. And the business community is not inclined to do things that doesn't have something in it for them, understandably. So what we need to be able to show is that this is going to give them a sustainability advantage as opposed to being a sustainability sacrifice. So we've quantified the business case. We know how fantastic it is, but frankly, businesses are having a little trouble protecting time to pay attention to it because they're a little preoccupied with other issues like the pandemic and so on these days. They may not understand the numbers or believe the numbers, and we need better proof points. Enter sustainable procurement. This is a market force that provides the proof points that we need for the business case for paying more attention to sustainability. So when we talk about sustainable procurement, what we're talking about is making sure that the buyer is getting best value for their money by providing or purchasing the most sustainable businesses, that they are the most sustainable businesses, and they are providing the most sustainable goods and services. So when we talk about the most sustainable businesses, the most sustainable suppliers, how would we know that? We ask them. And there are better and better tools out there to help them self-assess, or there are organizations out there that can do that assessment for them against science-based goals or other kinds of goals if they prefer those. But we have ways in which we can come up with a performance score for a particular organization, a supplier as an organization. And then the magic happens. In sustainable procurement, what we do is we give significant weight to that score, to that performance score. So in the bid appraisal process, we give at least 10%, maybe 15%, maybe 20% to the sustainability of the supplier. We make it matter. And if it matters to the buyer, it matters to the supplier. And the supplier is going to want to improve that score so that they will have more preferential treatment from the buyer. That's the magic. Why does the buyer care about how sustainable their suppliers are? Because they are mutually accountable for the impacts on the planet and people that are coming from their supply chain. So for example, when we're talking about greenhouse gases, they not only are expected to report on their Scope 1 emissions coming from their own operations, but also Scope 3 emissions, many of which are coming from their suppliers. So buyers need to know that information so that they can more accurately report on and do something about those kinds of impacts. So sustainable procurement pays attention to the sustainability of the buyer. It also pays a lot of attention to the sustainability of the goods and services that are coming from that supplier. What we have then is another market force that is causing companies to try to make sure that their products are sustainable. What does that mean? It means that they meet specifications that are in the RFPs that ask about how energy efficient the product is, the materials that it's made from, where they come from, especially the issue of conflict minerals, how the product is designed for a circular economy so that it's going to be able to be repaired and refurbished, and the parts of it recycled at end of life, all of those good things. The chemicals that are made, that are used in the manufacture of the product that could endanger the health of the workers in the plants that are producing the product, as well as the users of the product. So there are a whole bunch of things that we want to know about relative to that product. The nice thing, by the way, is that there are organizations out there that can look at some of the more complicated, more complex products, like IT products, and help us make sure that the answers that are being given to those sustainability specifications are accurate. And that's where TCO Certified comes in, because that's what they do. So what we have then is a way to assess how sustainable the goods and services are. And we attach real weight to that in the bid appraisal process as well. So now we've got weights in the bid appraisal process that cause organizations to pay a lot more attention to this than perhaps they were before. That's the magic. And you probably are aware that TCO Certified uses science-based criteria for a lot of the certifications that they're doing, the things that they look for. And I don't know whether there's something in the water in Sweden, but it looks to me like there are very smart people in Sweden that look at the complex sustainability issues through a science-based lens. For example, Carl Henrik Robert, the founder of the Natural Step, he came up with the science-based system conditions for a sustainable human civilization on a finite planet. I spent 12 years serving on the board of the Natural Step Canada and really got into that. And frankly, that's the foundation of a lot of the work that I do. So he had a significant impact on my interest and trajectory on all of these things. And then there's Johan Rockström, identified the 9 planetary boundaries that we also need to respect for a thriving human civilization on a finite planet, and started up the Stockholm Resilience Institute to further that kind of analysis. And then, of course, there's the greatest gift of Sweden to the world, Greta. I'm not sure she would call herself a scientist, but she's definitely a truth speaker, and would probably applaud the way in which TCO Certified is using science-based criteria to kind of cut through the blah, blah, blah that might be associated with the descriptions of some of these products by their producers. So in conclusion, I'm excited about sustainable procurement because it's a market force. It's a market force. What we're talking about here is sending a strong message to the business community that sustainability matters, their own sustainability as an enterprise and the sustainability of their products and services. That's the magic of it. So it's great that there are organizations like TCO Certified that are helping us do a more rigorous job on all of this. And I'm looking forward to learning from the panel, which is about to follow, about all of the good things in Generation 9 that are going to help us move the ball in the right direction on sustainable procurement. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bob Willard. So one question for you. Are you telling us that the procurement professional is actually the most important profession within the ambit of sustainability?
I think they are, but I don't think they realize that they are agents for change that have not taken advantage of this opportunity the way I think they could. I don't think they understand how incredibly powerful the buying power of their organizations can be as a signal to the marketplace of what matters. And if we can help them see that and operationalize a lot of these sustainable procurement processes, I think we're going to be able to move the momentum in the business community towards more sustainable business models, significantly more than any other, including regulation approaches, can make it happen.
So what advice would you give to companies listening today who have not at all thought about their procurement departments or procurement agencies?
I don't think that they quite understand that they can be agents for change and that they should try it. They should look into it. We've got tools to help them do that. There are organizations that can help them do that. There's no lack of resources to be able to help them do that once they decide to do it. And the biggest decision is the one that they're going to do it. And then we can make it happen. We know how to do it. There are organizations that are way ahead of the curve on these things. We can learn from them. There are NGOs all over the world that are focused on this. Doesn't have to be just government. We can use free enterprise and private sector as well. I think my job now is to try to make this happen.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bob Willard, and best of luck for your job. There's a great task ahead of you, ahead of us. Thank you very much, sir. Very inspiring. Thank you.
Thank you very much. It's fun, and that's a large part of it too. Take care.
Thank you. You too, sir. Thank you. Friends, it's now time to introduce and welcome our certification panel, namely Mr. Andreas Nobel, Mr. Stefan Karlberg, Mr. Stephen Faller, and Mr. Victor Wenström. And once again, most welcome to our first panel. Andreas, you have spoken quite a lot about the focus areas of Generation 9. Could you kindly elaborate a bit on the same?
Yeah, sure. So the process of us getting to these focus areas stem from that we're working with something called a sustainability roadmap. So this is sort of a tool for us to look into the future, what we should work with, but also what we should not work with connected to IT products and sustainability. So in this roadmap, we mapped out around 300 different sustainability challenges. And to pick and choose from them and to make sure what we should focus on, we overlay something we call a criteria key. And this criteria key looks at 8 different parameters, ranging all the way from sustainability impact, but also if it's possible to verify the claims or the criteria that we want to put in TCO Certified, but also cost. How much does it cost to implement this? And weighing all these 8 different parameters together, we're able to pinpoint the things that we want to work with, and that sort of creates these focus areas in the end. So for Generation 9, we spent roughly around 30,000 hours on the development process, which is quite a lot. This is just the beginning, So Generation 9 is just a stepping stone for Generation 10 and 11. So that's sort of how we look at things, that we need to break down these huge challenges into smaller steps. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to achieve the things that we want to achieve when it comes to sustainability within the IT industry.
Thank you, Andreas. Thank you very much. Stephen, when we talk about socially responsible manufacturing, there is obviously a next step. What would those next steps be according to you?
So Chapter 2 of the criteria document includes some important next steps. For the criteria covering anti-corruption, we now require an independent verification of the brand owner's anti-bribery management system to establish a level playing field on how organizations combat and deal with this vital issue in their supply chains. For the mandate on responsibly sourced minerals, we have since 2015 engaged brand owners not legally required to develop a supply chain due diligence process for at least conflict minerals and cobalt. Unfortunately, the common gap in the process so far has been it going only as far as to the smelters. And now we're moving to fill that gap so that due diligence continues onto the mines. For chemicals used in manufacturing, so-called process chemicals, we're requiring that only those cleaning solvents that appear on our public TCO Certified Accepted Substance List can be used. And more about factories is that we've expanded our supply chain responsibility requirements to require increased transparency of the next tier suppliers to the final assembly factories. So the metrics collected on this part of the supply chain of the certified product will be used to assess how well factories work with their suppliers to identify risks and drive improvements. So this is our first step to actively look for human rights violations beyond final assembly factories. So to summarize, the next step for socially responsible manufacturing is about increased supply chain transparency and engagement.
Thank you, Stephen. Is there a next step also in the area of chemicals, you would say?
Yeah. So, chemicals are a big problem at factories. We know that workers risk their health from exposure to the substances they work with daily. The provided protective equipment isn't enough to protect them, so we need to deal with the chemical hazard itself. We've been collecting data on processed chemicals used at factories manufacturing certified products since 2018. And as expected from an industry without a harmonized restricted substance list, we discovered chemicals that have for a long time been banned in developed countries.
Right.
So this info, we could have, as most do, started a restricted substance list and enforced that through our criteria. But we know restriction lists just open the way for substance to be replaced with either an equally hazardous one or one with we know too little about. So what we do instead is create a public list of accepted substances we call TCO Certified Accepted Substance List. And on it, we list only those chemicals that have been independently assessed as safer alternatives for both humans and the environment. So what we've done previously for flame retardants and plasticizers, we're now doing in TCO Certified Generation 9 for product cleaning solvents. That if a factory wants to use a particular chemical, they first need to have it assessed as safer and then add it to our list. Since if it's not on the list, then it's restricted. So this transparency helps guide factories away from regrettable choices. So if chemicals must be used, then we think this is the only sustainable way to deal with the hundreds of thousands of unassessed chemicals on the global market today, and that's to treat them as unsafe until they're proven safer.
Thank you very much, Stephen. Extremely interesting and crucial. Thank you. Stefan, production phase has been mentioned a few times now. What about the use phase of certified products, you would say?
Yeah, so in Generation 9, we are focusing on three main areas in Generation 9. It's the batteries connected to replaceable components and standardization of chargers. And we introduced our first battery criteria back in Generation 8, and since then we have collected a lot of data from battery test reports, and we're now confident to increase the minimum requirement towards Generation 9. And we're also harmonizing with EU GPP, their battery criteria, and this means that purchasers now can use TCO Certified as proof of compliance with their battery criteria.
Right.
And for replaceable components, we're now deep diving into the components. And this means that we are evaluating the overall repairability of IT products in TCO Certified Generation 9. And we have developed new SPIs, and those are developed through the standard called EN 45554. So we are looking into the specific components of IT products and evaluating how repairable they are. And this evaluation is performed through independent verification organizations. So all brand owners will be evaluated in the same way. And the last point is for standardization of chargers. And here we've seen that we still have problems with chargers that use proprietary connectors. And we address this in Generation 9 by introducing standardizations towards USB Type-C and wireless charging. And with this, we hope to increase reusage of old chargers that you have home or in the office, and we hope to decrease the need of manufacturing new chargers. So this is the package of the user phase, some of the things that we do in Generation 9.
Thank you, Stefan. Very interesting indeed. Victor, sustainability performance indicators, SPIs, have been mentioned over and again. What is that? Could you give us some examples, please?
Absolutely. So the SPIs, or the Sustainability Performance Indicators, were a concept that was introduced in the last generation, in Generation 8, where we provided a few key data points that were made available on the certificate and on the product finder. So in Generation 8, it was the energy efficiency of products, and it was the amount of post-consumer recycled plastics. But in TCO Certified Generation 9, we are expanding the scope of these SPIs, and we're adding more than 40 new SPIs, where, for example, that Stefan mentioned, the classification on repairability is one category of SPIs. We're adding classification on product warranty periods, on the product carbon footprint, on amount of recycled content in products. So what these SPIs enable us to do is to measure both the impact on if products are able to exceed the criteria level set in TCO Certified, as well as targeting areas which are currently too difficult to include as a base criterion. With these new SBIs, we hope that we can enable brand owners to start competing on sustainability aspects of product, as well as providing tools and more measurable data for purchasers using TCO certified products. So now in the beginning of the next year, we're hoping to release some very new and exciting tools related to this.
Very interesting. Thank you, Victor. Now, Andreas, what would you say is the next step for TCO's
TCO Certified.
Yes, thank you very much.
Yeah, so the next step, well, we talked a lot about the generations here today, and Generation 9 in particular, but I just want to stress that the generations is sort of just a vessel towards our, overarching goal of driving sustainability with the IT industry. So the next step would just be to continue on the path that we've set and work with the different challenges that we have identified. And then in a year and a half time, maybe we can start talking about Generation 10 and 11. So I invite all of you to contribute, and also a big thank you to everyone who has contributed to the development of Generation 9. So big thank you to all the purchasers, brand owners, academia, all of you. You know who you are out there, so thank you.
Thank you very much also, dear panelists, Andreas, Stefan, Stephen and Victor. And dear viewers, there is a lot more information for you on tcocertified.com. Now it's time for more voices from around the world.
One of the biggest challenges about sustainability for tech right now is the lack of pragmatism. It's a great topic, we all want to be green, but where do we start? How do we start? How do we make it appealing and understandable for your colleagues? TCO Certified means that as a procurer you have less work to do, because yes, green procurement is great, but it's even better if an organization such as TCO Development already did all of the work for you.
Now, when it comes to India, efforts and policy focus has remained on the management of the large amounts of e-waste generated in the country. However, we at CRB firmly believe that there is a need to adopt a more holistic and a life cycle approach towards management of electronics. This will also become more crucial as India prepares to increase its electronic manufacturing capacity.
We know that the majority of the climate and social impact from electronics comes from production. So one of the key questions for circular electronics is how can we keep the products in use for longer? Can you buy refurbished? What can you do to make sure that your IT lives for longer? And what happens with your used IT equipment? Those are questions that you should look into for taking steps towards circular electronics already today.
Dear viewers, it's time for our second panel, and for us to meet TCO Development Purchaser experts, Ms. Claire Hobby and Mr. Barton Finn. Claire, Barton, great to have you here.
Thank you.
Claire, let's start with you. What can this Generation 9 do for purchasing organizations, you would say?
Thanks for that question, Parul. Well, what a great day for sustainable IT, firstly. And I think we're finding ourselves in a moment where sustainability and sustainable procurement are no longer niche interests, but are really an imperative for every organisation out there, whether small, large, public, private, everybody needs to do something. And that's exactly what TCO Certified Generation 9 is designed to do, to give you that deep impact into the supply chain, the broad scope of criteria, and it's all verified, but for the purchaser, it's so much easier to just implement it, plug it into your procurement language, whatever that might be, whether it's policy or an actual solicitation. So what we're particularly excited about with Generation 9 from a procurement perspective is going deeper into that supply chain, where so much of the sustainability impact lies embedded. So we're really excited about what that offers purchasers in their ability to have that impact in an area where they don't really have a lot of insights. And secondly, as was mentioned in the earlier panel, around all the data points that we'll be collecting around certified products and the promise that this offers purchasers in their ability to actually measure their impact when they choose to use TCO Certified. So we're really looking forward to some deep and meaningful work to get purchasers those measurement tools moving into 2022.
That's great. Great. Thank you so much, Claire. Barton, what would you say are the main sustainability concerns and challenges today for IT purchases?
Thanks, Parul. I'll start by saying that I'm really glad to see a switch in the focus from purchasers who are moving away from only considering energy consumption or energy efficiency, and they do that in order to take into account other types of impacts that are far more important from an environmental and social perspective. So that's really great. And if I had to pick three topics that are kind of hot in the minds of purchasers today, I would start by using products for longer periods of time. I think organizations have really started to understand that this is one of the most important things that they can do. And so we're seeing some really interesting developments from different organizations who started to really procure large quantities of refurbished or second-hand assets. So that's really great. And whenever it's not possible for them to do that, they're doubling down on areas such as resistance of products, repairability of products, upgradability of products. So definitely this idea of using products for a longer time and keeping them in the loop, so to say, is the first item I would mention. The second one, I think I would go for working conditions in supply chains. Obviously, that has been an issue for quite a lot of time, and I think organizations and society know that it's still an issue nowadays. So here we're seeing purchasers really trying to get more visibility and more transparency on what are these supply chains, what are the different issues in relation to the working conditions that we can find there, in order to also ultimately gain influence in order to positively address these. So that would be probably the key topic number two. And then I would also mention greenhouse gas emissions. That is connected to different commitments being taken at the global level. And what is interesting is that we're seeing organizations translating these commitments into their purchasing policies as I think they understand actually that most of their impacts is connected not only to their operations, but also what they're buying, services or products. And so they're really exploring new ways of mitigating those different emissions that are connected to whatever they're buying in an indirect way, therefore.
Right, right. Thank you, Barton. Now, talking about emissions, Claire, the computer's emissions in the supply chain is a fact. Similarly, the non-access to factories and mines and other manufacturing platforms is also a fact. Now, in this scenario, with this landscape, what can a purchaser do?
A purchaser can do a lot. And I think it was really interesting to hear Bob speak about procurement as like some kind of superpower, right? Because I think it really, there's a lot of power and leverage in volume purchasing, the budgets they bring to that ability to signal to industry that these issues are really important. And I think a lot of people are really surprised to find out that somewhere between 70 and 90% of your lifetime sustainability impact of a computer actually is embedded in that supply chain before it ever reaches the desk. And we're so hardwired to think about the product we're using right now, right? What's its energy efficiency? What are we going to do with it at the end of life? But what we actually need to do is to move that purchaser voice higher up the value chain, because the end starts at the beginning.
Right.
So we need to really get more purchasers actively signaling to industry that what happens in the supply chain is of critical interest here. You know, should we be replacing our products less frequently? Should we be buying smarter? And TCO Certified is all about the choice of buying smarter. And when you do that through TCO Certified, you're able to have the impact in these areas that, as you say, are not really accessible to the average purchaser. And the sad part is only around a third of purchasing organisations today ever voice their signalling on supply chain sustainability. So there's a huge opportunity here. We want to make it as easy as possible when it comes to IT. So, and it doesn't matter if your organisation is small or large. When you use a tool like TCO Certified, you're being part of a larger movement, an aggregated common message that goes directly to industry and straight into that supply chain where it has its biggest impact.
Excellent. Thank you, Claire. Thank you so much. Very clear. Barton, today companies and organizations are already struggling with an intense demand when it comes to regulations and reporting. Now, in this setup, where does Generation 9 fit in, you would say?
Yeah, it's a good question, and indeed, there are already a lot of legislations putting pressure on organizations to deliver on reporting and the efforts that they're doing in relation to mitigating their impact. And I think this tendency will be growing in the future. So how does TCO Certified fits into that perspective? I would say, as we've heard just before, a significant set of new SPIs, as we call them, which are basically KPIs about the sustainability merits of IT products.
Barton, could you define SPIs once again,
Sustainability
please?
Performance Indicators.
Thank you.
So a new set of these sustainability performance indicators will be collected as of Generation 9. And the idea behind that is to, on the one hand, enable organizations to have more comparability between products so that they can judge and assess products based on their sustainability merits. And the idea with that is to inform their procurement decisions. So that's the first element. And the second, which is really connected to reporting this time, is that they will also be able to leverage these SPIs in their environmental reporting in order to, first of all, communicate about the sustainability dimension of the different devices that are included in their IT infrastructure, but also over time to communicate about the progress that they have been able to achieve in that perspective. So I think that these are really the two dimensions where TCO Certified will bring more value in terms of reporting. And personally, I would like to say that it's quite exciting, and I think we're witnessing exciting times for TCO Certified, as it shows that the certification further evolves into a ready-made and comprehensive tool for sustainable IT purchasing that cover not only the actual procurement stage with the different sustainability requirements that are included in TCO Certified, but also the pre-procurement stage with this ability to compare products and to choose between products based on their sustainable merits, and also the post-procurement stage where they will be able to integrate these data into their environmental reporting. Yeah.
Very interesting. Thank you.
And if I may add something to that, Barton, I think in the macro perspective too, that TCO Certified is really designed to support efforts around some of the bigger global movements we're starting to see around right to repair, for example, circular procurement. You know, we want to keep these products in high value use as long as we possibly can for a longer first use, but also good quality second use.
Yeah.
So, and also issues, ESG pressure is everywhere, right, from stakeholders, investors, you name it. And also we're seeing a lot of action on modern day slavery initiatives around the world. And so this is a tool that you can really use to help fashion those statements that you need to submit in order to stay compliant. So it's a great tool on macro perspective, micro perspective.
For sure.
Yeah.
Claire, could you just define ESG for our viewers?
Sure. It's environmental, social, and governance criteria that's really becoming an imperative for most organizations around the world now.
True. Barton and Claire, thank you very much. And very educational indeed, dear viewers. And now it's time for some more voices from around the world.
The most important sustainability issue today when it comes to IT product is for me climate change and the use of the resources we have. About 80% of the carbon emissions can be avoided if we design products right from the beginning. And the use of resources is important because many of the materials used in IT products are scarce and are also crucial to have when we move into a low carbon future to use in solar panels and wind turbines and electric cars.
In my personal opinion, the most important sustainability issue today is the compliance with social requirements, especially those for maintaining health, and that these are verified by independent third parties and corrected if necessary.
We can contribute to more circular and sustainable ID products by practicing business that shifts paradigms from hardware ownership to membership services. I see TCO Certified as an extraordinary platform, enabling all members in the supply chains to collaborate toward improvements and mutual benefits.
Dear friends, it's now time to meet Mr. Søren Enholm, who's the CEO of TCO Development. Hi, Søren.
Hi, Parul.
How does it feel today?
After thousands of hours of development work during the last 3 years, it feels really great today.
It's kind of a celebration, don't you think?
Definitely it is, even though it's a long process and we are now working with this new generation during the next 3 years. This is a very special day, of course.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Congratulations. Søren, what does certification really mean? I mean, what are you guys certifying?
Yeah, we are certifying the products, the IT products like PCs, PC displays, and so on. Speaking about that, I'm really happy to announce that we have a record number of certified products from a record number of brand owners as well at the launch date.
That's great. That's really great. Shall we have a look at some of the brands?
Yeah, let's have a look.
Acer. AOC and Philips.
Hello, my name is Kevin Young, Tenko Product and Regulatory Compliance Manager at AOC and Philips MMD. We want to thank TCO Development for launching the new TCO Certified Generation 9. We further push manufacturers like us to bring more sustainable products onto the market. Together with TCO Development, we will bring sustainability and circular economy to the next level. Thank you very much.
Dell.
At Dell Technologies, we are committed to making social and environmental progress real. TCO Certified helps organizations and individuals make sustainable IT choices, and we are very proud that our Dell displays meet the latest TCO Certified Generation 9 standard from December 2021. Sustainability will always be a priority for us as we look to protect our planet and enrich the lives of communities that we live in.
ISO.
ISO has been TCO certified since the establishment of TCO Development in 1992. As a visual technology company whose philosophy is to contribute to the betterment of society, being TCO certified is one of the ways we work towards sustainability to promote positive change for the future.
Fujitsu.
Product certification is important. It independently verifies that Fujitsu is operating sustainably and ethically. TCO Certified Generation 9 means that our entire product lifecycle has passed unbiased assessment. from material sourcing to device use, and finally recovery and recycling. This enables our customers to buy with confidence in Fujitsu's sustainable values.
That's amazing, Søren. Once again, congratulations. Søren, what does actually Generation 9 mean to the IT industry, you would say?
Sustainability is getting more and more important in general, and TCO Certified is an excellent way for the brand owners to keep on top of this topic.
Right.
Of course, it's important to follow our development work going forward. Also, I would say that more and more purchasers around the world use TCO Certified in their purchasing contracts. So to get access to these contracts, it's also really important for the brand owners to use TCO Certified as a tool.
Right, right. So, and I believe we have more products and more brands.
Yes.
Yes.
Let's have a look at them as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
HP.
Manuel Sosa Skroinka, Eco-Design and Eco-Levels Product Management for HP. TCO Certified products ensure end-to-end accountability for the market demands on transparency, from safe and responsible sourcing of materials to product repairability and adequate end-of-life services, while ensuring workers on the supply chain are protected and the value of natural and recycled materials is maximized for high-quality electronic devices.
Jabra.
So why is TCO important to us? We feel that TCO is the only sustainability certification for our products that looks at the full life cycle, whether it's raw materials or factory audits, repairability, the use phase. We want to be transparent towards our stakeholders, that sustainability is important to us, that our products are sustainable, and we feel TCO is the right way to go.
Lenovo.
Hello there. For Lenovo and for our customers, it's important to make a statement in the area of sustainability. TCO Certified is a comprehensive certification that helps us to develop our products and to show our commitment in a sustainable manner.
LG.
We are truly excited and happy to have TCO 9.0 products ready to sell from early next year. In Germany, TCO 9.0 is especially important because in Germany, sustainability and public responsibility are key in the decision-making process of our buyers. So thank you very much and have a good day.
ViewSonic.
Hi, I'm Oscar Ding from ViewSonic. Today, I'm proud that our monitors have met the new TCO Certified. As you know, ViewSonic have shared the same value as TCO Certified, so we are aiming to have more eco-friendly products and build a better world with our partners. Thank you.
Dear viewers, there's of course much more to learn and say about TCO Certified Generation 9. Do reach out to the purchaser support team or development support team if you wish to know more. Of course, there is plenty of more information available on tcocertified.com. Thank you so much, dear viewers, for staying with us today, for listening in, for viewing, and also following these interesting discussions on TCO Certified Generation 9. Thank you very much.